Okay, let's talk about student rental investing. Now, this is a pretty specific niche in the real estate world, but man, it can generate some absolutely staggering cash flow. It definitely comes with its own set of rules and challenges, though, so let's crack open the playbook and see what this high-yield strategy is all about. So, you might drive past a pretty standard-looking house near a university and, not think twice about it. But for an investor who knows what they're doing, that property is a potential cash-generating machine. So the real question is, what's the secret sauce? What makes it so incredibly lucrative? Well, it all starts with a number like this. In a lot of college towns where demand is high, you can get around $900 a month. And no, that's not for the whole house, that's for a single bedroom. Now, let's imagine that same house has been set up to have, say, 7 rentable bedrooms. All of a sudden, you're not just renting a property. You have 7 distinct income streams, all coming from under one roof. And when you do the math, that's $6,300 in gross rent every single month from just one house. And that right there is the core appeal of this whole strategy. You're multiplying your income potential by renting room by room. So what's driving all this? Honestly, it's a classic case of supply and demand. You've got massive, predictable demand hitting a wall of insufficient supply. And this isn't some new trend. It's a fundamental gap in the market that's been there for years. It's like a gold rush for a reason. So why is the demand just always there? It's simple, really. Universities just can't build dorms fast enough to house everybody. They usually give priority to the first-year students to help them adjust. But what happens sophomore year? Well, thousands of students get pushed out into the private rental market. And let's be real, even if they could live at home, most would much rather have the freedom of living with their friends. This whole cycle creates this incredibly reliable, almost captive audience of tenants for investors year in and year out. But hold on, before you even think about jumping in, it is absolutely crucial to understand what a student rental is, and more importantly, what it is not. There is one rule here that can literally make or break your entire investment. So what are we really talking about here? Essentially, it's just a normal residential property. Could be a detached house, a townhouse, whatever. The key is that it's been set up to have as many bedrooms as possible. But from a legal perspective, it's still just a regular single-family home. And this right here is where so many people get into massive trouble. If your city decides to classify your property as a rooming house, you are suddenly playing a whole different ballgame. You're not a residential landlord anymore, you're a commercial operator. And that comes with a ton of strict and really expensive rules for zoning, special licenses, and way tougher fire code requirements. Trust me, you want to avoid that label at all costs. So here it is, the golden rule. The one thing you have to get right. To keep your property legally classified as a simple residential rental, you need to have one single joint lease that every single student in the house signs. You're not renting individual rooms, you are renting the entire house to one collective group. This single piece of paper is your shield. All right, now that we've got the scary but critical legal stuff out of the way, let's get back to the fun part, the money. And let me tell you, the financial perks here are things you just don't see in most other rental strategies. The upside is just huge. First, obviously, you've got that incredible cash flow we already talked about. But get this, you almost always have parental guarantees. That's right, mom and dad co-sign the lease, which means you're going to get paid. And because students graduate and move on, you have this natural turnover every single year that lets you reset the rent to whatever the current market rate is, no problem. In the right area, your vacancy rate is basically zero, and you tend to sidestep a lot of those long, drawn-out landlord-tenant board issues. And the cash flow numbers, they really do speak for themselves. Just look at this. Even a 5-bedroom house on the low end of the market is pulling in over $3,000 a month. But an 8-bedroom place in a prime location, you could be looking at $10,000 a month. That's a level of revenue that's pretty much impossible to hit with a standard single-family rental. But of course, it's not all just passive income and easy money. With great cash flow comes great responsibility, right? This is a hands-on strategy, and you have to go in with your eyes wide open to the realities. So here's the trade-off. Your tenants are young, and for a lot of them, it's their first time living away from home. So yeah, you're going to get more calls about simple stuff. And with more people living in one house, you're just naturally going to have more wear and tear, which means more repairs over time. On top of all that, some banks can get a little nervous about student rentals. They see them as higher risk, so getting financing can sometimes be a bit trickier. It all adds up to a more hands-on, intensive management job. So when you put everything together, you're left with a really clear decision to make. It all boils down to a fundamental trade-off, and you have to decide which side you're on. And here it is, the central equation. On one side of the scale, you have the reward, incredible cash flow, rent that's basically guaranteed, and constant high demand. But on the other side, you've got the reality. It's going to take more of your time and effort, your property will see more wear, and you might have to jump through a few more hoops to get a mortgage. That's the price of entry for that higher return. Which brings us to the final question. There's no right or wrong answer here, you know? It totally depends on what you're looking for as an investor. Are you willing to put in the extra work for a massive boost in your monthly income? High cash flow versus high maintenance? Is the student rental playbook worth it for you?